any further question concerning the interpretation, please write us on chat box. We wish you a fruitful meeting. I'm done, Ms. Claudia. Thank you.
Thank you, Asli. So welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today to discuss how to develop national social enterprise ecosystems. We'll be looking specifically at cases from Brazil and from Turkey. So the event today is co-hosted by the Social Enterprise Scaling Up Community of Practice and the Social Entrepreneurship Community of Practice in Turkey. Our audience is made of a member of both communities and guests. Our members are connected to organizations that are key stakeholders in the social enterprise sector, such as enabling organizations, academic institutions, government agencies, multilateral organizations, and social enterprises. My name is Claudia Teixeira. I work with the World Bank strengthening communities of practice and also social entrepreneurship. And I will be one of the technical facilitators today. So if you need anything, just let me know through the chat. Our agenda for today is we'll start with a quick check-in. Then Elaine Tinsley is going to get us started with the introduction of the speakers. We'll hear from the Brazilian Alliance for Impact Investing and Impact Business and from the CoP Turkey, Social Entrepreneurship Community of Practice in Turkey. We'll have plenty of opportunities for discussions, Q&A. We want to give you plenty of space for that. And we'll close with a checkout with the main findings from the session. You heard from the Lexicon team about some brief Zoom norms and instructions. We ask you to please stay on mute when you're not speaking so that we can avoid background noise. You are welcome to keep your video on. If you're joining as a guest, please rename yourself. You can just hover over your name and you'll see more, and you can rename yourself. We are recording the session today because we want to have it to share with our members and new coming members to the communities. And you can always use the chat. You don't need to wait until the moment of the questions and answers to ask your questions. You can, just if you have a comment or a question, please feel free to use the chat, and we'll be surfacing the questions that come in the chat, but you also have an opportunity to unmute yourself and participate directly. So we'll get started, like I said, with a check-in. The check-in, the reason for the check-in is to allow us to connect to this space and to connect a little bit to each other. We'll use Poll Everywhere for the check-in. So let me share the link in the chat with you. Okay, the link is in the chat. If you can please click on that. And I will share my screen so that you can see the questions. Everybody can see the questions from here. Okay, so let me activate the first one. To full screen. So our first question is, where are you connecting from today? And it's a clickable image. So just click on the image so that we know where you are joining from.
Claudia, people are not seeing the link. It says in the chat.
Let me share it again in the chat. Okay, it's in the chat again. Okay, nice.
Sorry, Claudia, it's not showing on the chat box. No link here at all.
There, now it is. Smriti has just sent it. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Thank you, Smriti. Okay, so let me give you just a little bit more of a moment since you're joining in. Okay, so we'll see plenty more dots coming into the map. I have people joining from Brazil, from also the Americas, many parts in the Americas. a lot of people from Turkey. Very nice to have you all here. And the next question is, okay. What is, this is a word cloud. So what is one word that represents social entrepreneurship to you? Why is it meaningful? If you can summarize it in one word. Nice. Okay. Impact, we have solidarity, responsibility, change, resilience, inclusion. Yeah, really nice. Community, fairness. Okay, you can keep writing. I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much. And I will have this word cloud to share with you later. And so I'll pass over to Elaine, who will get us started. Elaine.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's very nice to see such a large group of people join us. We're very excited to be doing this with the social enterprise community practice in Turkey. It's always nice to learn from other countries' experiences. And we're very fortunate to have the Brazilian experience, who I don't think we hear enough of. Normally we hear a lot about like ecosystem growing in the UK and Scotland and other places. So it is actually nice to get an emerging country perspective on how to do it. And I think what's nice is that we have Brazil, which has been a little bit more advanced, has been taking place over the past 15 years. But then we're also going to be looking at Turkey too, to see what is it that Turkey can learn from this, what it is that they're doing, and different approaches to it. As our scaling up agenda, I mean, we recognize the importance of what you need to do to build the ecosystem. It's quite vital because without it, the social enterprises are kind of almost fighting by themselves very independently. So the more we can build a stronger enabling system, the more we can address issues of providing financing for these social enterprises, or improving the regulatory frameworks that's needed, doing capacity building. And so we'll hear from the Brazil experience to see how the measures that they've undertaken to grow their space, to build up stronger networks amongst the different ecosystem players. And so I think, and I'm sure there'll be lots of different questions from people on it. I know I already have tons. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Beto, who leads the Impact Investment Initiative and is a member of the executive team for Brazilian Alliance. And the Brazilian Alliance works to improve the investment environment and the ecosystem for Brazil, and they've actually done tremendous work. But I'm going to let him talk more in detail on it. And so with that, I will hand it over to Beto. And then after that, we will go to Turkey. Go ahead, Beto.
Many, many thanks, Elaine. Thanks, Claudia, for the invitation. Pleasure to be here. And a huge pleasure also to be with my Turkish colleagues. It's strange, but we have many similarities to Turkey, to Brazil and Turkey. Some bad, some good. I guess the bad are we have a macroeconomic stability here there and there. And the good thing that we have as on cultural themes, we have many similarities, particularly in music. My colleagues, Turkish colleagues, I'm a big fan of. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing correctly, but I'm a big fan of Baba Zul and Merkan Deber, big fan, and also the writer, the Pamuk. So a pleasure to be here with you. So let's share my screen here. Okay. One more moment. Is that correct? Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
I guess so, yeah. Okay, so I'm Beto Scretas. I'm Brazilian. I'm here with my colleague, Deborah. She's going to help me here. Please, Deborah, help me at any time. So I'm going to talk a bit about our experience in Brazil in fostering the impact investment ecosystem in Brazil. So we work for an organization named ICE, is exactly, it's like the ICE, but is ICE, which is the backbone organization behind what we call the Brazilian Alliance for Impact Investment in Brazil. So let's start showing what we are talking about. So when we start to look to this field that was 9 years, 8-9 years ago, we tried to see who was doing a good job on fostering this ecosystem, this new field, name it at that time social finance, now impact investing. And we saw a very nice experience in the UK and other European countries. And everyone had the same strategy to build an initiative to act as like a task force for developing this field. So we copy-paste the UK and all the European countries' experience, and we established 7 years ago an initiative named Brazilian Impact Alliance for Impact Investing. So what are the goals for our initiative? 3 goals. Number 1, production and dissemination of knowledge. So this is very important because this was and is a very new field. So people don't know about this. So what we exactly are talking about here, because it's a sort of new concept, less than 20 years it appeared for the first time. Second, we need to articulate key players, key actors to connect the dots. So for those already in the field doing something, but not in a joint effort, and other players that should be engaged in the sector. So we act as an articulator for this for the ecosystem. And third, we try to foster innovative initiatives. So we basically here we are talking about a new thing. And that demands new solutions for solving social environmental problems that are huge and very complex. So here I show you our governance. So we have our advisory board from different people outside our organization, players for the sector, investors, foundations, lawyers, and fund managers. We have our secretariat, which is my organization, the backbone organization. We do the operational job, and we have our funders. The largest one is our largest private-owned bank here in Brazil, named Itaú. So that's from where I'm talking to you. Into return and risk. From the right side, which is the grant session, the philanthropy, we have in between, we have seen new themes appearing. First, responsible investments, then ESG or sustainable investments, both of them aiming to, let's say, avoid harm and mitigate risks. Impact investing, the difference between impact investing and responsible investment or ESG investments, that impact investing we invest in companies or products that are directly aiming to solve social and environmental problems. This is these colors here we call ABC scheme. So avoid harm, benefit stakeholders, and contributes to solutions. Impact investing is something that is aiming to benefit stakeholders, but primarily to contribute to solutions for complex social and environmental problems in the world. So what's the size of this field? So globally, we have every year institution named Global Impact Investment Network. They have a survey every year, and this figure is from last year. They are about to launch a new figure, but this year from last year that shows you the picture for the year end 2019. We had at the time $0.7 trillion under this label, almost 2,000 investors labeled as impact investors worldwide. This is growing very fast. Like 10 years ago was 1/10. So multiply by 10 in 10 years, but it's still very small. It's less than 1% of the money invested worldwide. And in Brazil, the size is even smaller. So we have here This is also a picture for the year end 2019. Less than $1 billion invested as impact investment, 34 investors, local and foreigners invested here in Brazil. And this figure, this 0.8 billion, is less than 0.1% of the total size of the mutual fund industry in Brazil. So we are very small. That's why we need to work very hard to make this to grow faster. So, and another concept here, when I talk about what is impact business for us, the Alliance, after a consultation to the stakeholders, online consultation as well through a platform, benchmark with my colleagues worldwide, we came to a definition. What is impact business for the Alliance? So, four very crystal clear criteria. Number one, the company has to express that intent to work for a solution of a social environmental problem. Second, the greater part of the revenue stream of this company or this organization, might be a NGO, is direct to solve this problem here. So a cosmetic company, which is a very high standard ESG, in terms of ESG, it's good for the world, but it's not a impact business, because basically they are selling cosmetics, not selling a product service to solve a problem. So the third, they have to have a solution for the business model, and fourth, they should have or intend to have impact measure for the impact. So these are the four criteria we define impact business. It's our own definition, but it's quite aligned with the definition we have seen around the globe. Okay, as I told you, this is still a very small market, and 5 years ago was even smaller. So what did Alliance did for this? We have had some initiatives, but the core initiative we had, and again, based on what all the countries were doing at that time, particularly in the UK and the G7 countries, we launched a set of 15 recommendations for the Brazilian society how to grow this market quicker, faster, and in a fast way. So these were recommendations direct to investors, to the government, to the foundations for the NGOs. So this has been our work since 2015. And exactly last year, in December last year, we launched what we call the 5-year final report. This is going to be available in English very soon, and I'm very glad to share with Claudia and Elaine, and then they can forward to you. So this is what we have done so far, where we have progressed, where we have failed. This report is quite interesting and show that we have seen some improvements, and I'm going to show with you now some improvements we have. I'm not Claudia, can you have on the time, how much time do I have? Just for me to.
You have about 10 minutes, but.
10 minutes, okay. So let's go quicker here. So we act in we act through the 4 levers. So to bring more capital, to have more and scalable impact business, to have strong intermediary organizations, and to have an enabling environment for doing business here in Brazil. So in terms of more capital, I just showed the figure. We are small, 0.8 billion, but this is 4 times the size the market had at the end of 2017. And I'm going to share a quite interesting image here. Back in 2015, we just had 3 impact investment funds in Brazil, and very small funds 5 years ago. Now we have much more funds, bigger funds, most of them credit funds or venture capital funds, but we have seen some big names jump in the market, like Itaú is now it's our largest bank, is very keen, very active in the space, and we have seen the emergence of investment through online platforms. So we have seen some equity crowd lending and crowd equity platforms, and this is very important because it brings democracy to impact investment. Because in VC, venture capital funds and credit funds are only available for really big investors. Now we have seen very retail money flow into the sector through this online campaigns of crowd lending and crowd equity. This is very important. So now we have more funds, more money, more financial instruments available for the public to invest to be impact investors here in Brazil. More impact business. So we have an organization here that since 2015, they map the number, where are the impact business here in Brazil. The first report was showed we had about 500 business here labeled as impact business, and they just released last week a new report, which unfortunately I'm not sure that they have this in English already, but it's quite interesting. It's an X-ray of the sector here, and we have around 1.3 business that they call themselves impact. It's growing in a decent path here in Brazil. Intermediaries, they are key for the sector. Intermediaries here, who are intermediaries? Academia, incubators, accelerators, funds. So they are key for connecting who has the money to invest and who needs the money, who wants the money to grow. So this picture here is quite interesting. Back in 2015, we had very few impact business accelerators engaged in the sector. Very little research, very few professors, they knew about the sector. Very few reference in terms of impact measurements. And five years later, we have this quite nice picture here. As you know, Brazil is a large country, and so we are very glad to see that we have around Brazil, throughout Brazil, from south to north, now incubators and accelerators that they are engaged in the sector. We have a huge network of professors, what we call Academia IC, comprised nowadays by 130 professors around Brazil. So this has been an effort led by some players. Alliance has a role on that, but we have seen all the players that were responsible for this picture to be like it is today, and very different from the picture that we had 5 years ago. Enabling environment. Here is all about, it's about two things, basically. To engage government here, that was mandatory to engage government since the beginning. That was the lesson learned from my colleagues from all the countries. So we need to engage the government to be a player here, different hats, but to be a player. And also we need to have more and more knowledge about the sector. So we have pushed and others, and we have done some events throughout the years throughout Brazil to promote this thing. And here, in terms of engaging the government, which I just said it's a key thing, we were very lucky that in 2015 we had zero engagement. And a year later, 16, we managed to find someone at the federal government who was very keen in pushing this agenda, and he was instrumental to engage all the public entities. And then at the end of 2017, the Brazilian president at that time signed a decree creating a national strategy for impacted business here in Brazil. That was December 2015. The name here is Impacto, is a national strategy for impact investing in Portuguese. We have a 10 years mandate for this policy. It's a national policy. It's not a government policy. It's a national and state policy. We have a steering committee in charge of implementing, comprised by 28 different organizations, being 18 public entities, ministries, regulators, and so on and so forth, public banks, and 10 members of the civil society, including the Alliance. And this federal law has been instrumental for local, for some states in Brazil creating their own initiatives. So we have 23 states in Brazil. 6 of them already, they have their own legislation. There is state legislation for pushing the agenda at local level. This is very important given the size of the country. But one thing is to be in our capital, Brasilia, doing things, but another thing is to be in the Amazon region doing impact investment policy, which is completely different from doing impact investment policies in the south of Brazil. So it's very important to have this local flavor and local players and local ecosystems being engaged. Okay, we are part of a global movement named the Global Steering Group on social impact investment. This initiative was created back in 2015, at the time with 13 countries plus the European Union. Now we are a community of 34 countries around the globe. You can see the picture here. This initiative is led by a chap named Syrian, a former venture capitalist that since over the last 25, 30 years has been dedicated his life to build this ecosystem. He is the leader behind the Global Steering Group, and we act like a hub for fostering impact investment worldwide. So Turkey, I just mentioned to Alina that we have some Turkish colleagues working in creating their own organization to join the GSG. I guess that over the next months we're going to see the Turkish flag in there. Okay, so that was we did in the past. So we finished that cycle that I told you, the 2015 to 2020 cycle, and now we are entering a new cycle, the cycle for the next 5 years. So we published, this is going to be also available very soon in English. We published a new report with a set of recommendations for the next 5 years. Here is in Portuguese the name. So basically we have 9 recommendations direct to different actors, and the Alliance is going to be one of the players pushing these recommendations. This action, each recommendation has a diagnosis, some actions that we should perform to achieve the goals, and the goals set for 5 years down the road. So I can just this is the final slide, I promise you. So I grouped here the 5 recommendations, the 9 recommendations into 5 groups. So one group is exactly the rethink ecosystem at the local levels. We need to, as I've stressed to you, is very important to have a nationwide ecosystem, not a ecosystem is very strong in Istanbul and not strong in other parts of Turkey, for example. We need to have a local systems, strong local systems to foster this. Second, we need more and more to have a very special lands for low-income areas. We need to have impact business, impact entrepreneurs from the vulnerable territories. We have seen impact investment so far has been very dominated by, let's say, not the elite, but I have seen, let's say, guys running an impact business that were to the very best universities of Brazil and so on and so forth. We need more and more solutions for the vulnerable territories coming from entrepreneurs on the ground. So this is very important and key for us. Third, we need to have a stronger dialogue with the mainstream financial markets. We need to push the banks here to structure, distribute, and sell impact products, financial impact products, And we need also to work with the global community to have a better impact accounting, to have, let's say, impact and integrity, and to have a transparency in the way the companies are promising delivering impact for the investors. Third, we need to connect with the other key ecosystems here. So we have seen very little activity from the corporates here in Brazil to be a player in the sector, and we need to push them to be more active. The big corporations, they have a role to let's say, to bring impact business into their value chain and so on and so forth. And we need also a better communication with the guys running the environmental agenda. Environment is a large agenda here in Brazil, as you probably know, and we need to work closer to the guys in the field, combining social environmental agenda together. And finally, we need to push levers, that we call here levers for the ecosystem, to measure things. Communicating impact. So communication has been an issue for our ecosystem. We need to improve the communication to everyone to know exactly what we are doing, the relevance of the work we're doing, and we need more and more the tech companies, tech-based solutions for solving environmental and social problems here and worldwide. So I pause here, and I don't know if we go to Alina now, or we open to the questions. I stop sharing here.
We will actually
I
do
hope I
questions.
was clear.
No, thanks, Beto. It's a great presentation, and it's amazing how Brazil was able to have such a multi-pronged approach to building the ecosystem. And I think one of the things, I think, other countries might be looking at this and saying it's very ambitious. How do you even like start? One, like how does this get financed? So you have initiatives on all the different ecosystem buckets. Where's the financing for that coming? And then maybe if you can drill down, particularly maybe like on the investor side, right? What exactly were the initiatives that were taken to grow that investment space, to bring in more of the players? Maybe if you can speak a little bit more to that, and then we'll go to the questions that are listed on the side. Go ahead.
Okay, basically, I think that as global, we have seen in other countries that the pioneers in the sector, they have been the multilaterals like yourselves, family office, and foundations So these are the guys that we have been trying to bring to the table. So we have a large, the multilaterals, IDB, they have yourselves, you have been active here. But actually, we need to bring to the table our large, very big development bank, named here BNDES. They are very large. They are the largest provider of long-term capital in Brazil, by far the largest one. And now they are starting to look more closer to the field. I'm very happy that I just saw today we had an article in the newspapers, in a media, specialized media for impact, exactly saying that BNDES has at least 3 or 4, this bank, they have at least nowadays 3 or 4 initiatives to foster ecosystem here. Being one of them, they're going to launch a request for proposal for selecting 1 or 2 fund managers labeled as impact invest. This is going to be the first request for proposal fully dedicated for the sector. It's very important. So the multilaterals and our development bank, the key player, family office, they have been in the space, but not exactly the way we would like to. But now we have seen more activity. Why? I think that we have seen the boom of ESG here in Brazil. Impact since the beginning of the pandemic has been more in the headlines than it used to be. That's very good. And second, here we are a very macroeconomic specific situation, like in Turkey. We have seen in Brazil very high interest rates, preventing some players to be more active in alternative investments. So they were so comfortable in putting money in public bonds. Now the situation is different. We have the interest rates are much lower, so are pushing the guys to take more risk. And we have seen some family offices and some other investors looking to alternative investments like private equity, venture capital, and also impact investment. And third, to find out the third player is foundations and institutes. The question here that in US, for example, they have the foundations, they have very large endowments. For example, Ford or Meteor, Rockefeller, they have been very active in the sector, in the impact investment field, through their endowments. Here in Brazil, we don't, most of the foundations, they don't have endowments. They just rely on the annual budget provided by the sponsor to make their social environmental investment. So they have not very amount of the pocket is direct to solve questions around their plant or their operations. So now we have seen some foundations putting some money to work in the impact investment arena, particularly on the environmental side. Two largest foundations here, they have been very active in funding impact based in the Amazon River for tackling the environmental challenge that we have here in Brazil.
So there are 3 questions. I'm just going to lump them all together, then you can kind of answer them because I think some of them overlap. So the first question was, what is the average time needed for the enterprises to receive investment? Are there early startups in the social economy scene that get seed capital, or is there a different pattern? Like impact investors waiting to see impact and results progress. Related to that is Isabel's question on what is the financial return that impact investors in Brazil expect to get. And then Amet's, there's also, have you been communicating SROI at this point in time? And then also the question on the ecosystem, which part of the ecosystem was the key driver in Brazil? Social entrepreneurs, impact investors, or intermediaries? And I think this is because, you know, for many, this is a large undertaking. If we had to like really focus on what is the key lever to be able to tackle, what would be the key one that if you had limited resources would be the best one to kind of focus on. And then finally, how do you define the development pattern of the Brazilian social entrepreneurship ecosystem?
Sorry, the last one,
How do you define the development pattern of the Brazilian social entrepreneurship ecosystem?
Okay, I can, Deborah, help him one if you want. So maybe you can, Deborah, can you answer the last one about the, okay, and then I go through the other 4. Deborah.
The last one is the one about great success stories, right?
Yeah, the development of the ecosystem, the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Brazil, how maybe bearing in mind the type of findings, if you could reply.
Yeah, sure. The key drivers, I think, are intermediaries, and that's why we at IC decided to work with it, because we have an appetite for investors. We have great impact businesses being built, and so we decided to focus our main action into dynamizing this ecosystem. And I think one of the greatest achievements we had were to bring this ecosystem closer to, like Beto said, to big banks and to the government. And I think that gave a bigger light into the needs and the advancements of the ecosystem in the last 5 years.
No, that's great. So but the question about who is more important, I think we are here to work for the impact entrepreneurs. They are the key stakeholder to be care of. So, but basically, we have decided as a movement, as an initiative, to focus, like as Deborah said, on what we call here the enablers, intermediaries, or in Portuguese, dynamizers. So for the sector, it's basically this gives you an opportunity to work on a wholesaler basis instead of go to the retail, because basically entrepreneur, they are spread around the country. different organizations, not organized, so we decided to focus on the intermediaries because they are a small number and that they can spread the word. They are the ones on the ground helping the entrepreneurs. So that was our decision. Third question was about SCR1 and basically impact. I guess that you are asking about impact measurement. This is one thing that is key for the sector, particularly on these days that we have seen a lot of people jump into the impact field. Some of them, I don't know if they are, we can trust they are for real on this. So impact washing has been one thing that we need to work to prevent. And here I'm making advertisement from the GSG. GSG is now engaged in promoting. We are in a partnership with Harvard University with a professor who is one of the leading research about impact measurement worldwide. His name is George Serafin. GSG and Harvard, we are engaged in a project named Impact Weighted Accounts Initiative. So basically the aim is to have in 2 or 3 years time, an impact accounting which can be applied everywhere to every sector and make more transparent for investors. How these companies, if these companies really, and how much impact a companies generate to the society. So basically, it's like we have a P&L, profit and loss for a company. We can see the profit of a company. We can the aim of this project to have say a number, a quality number, and a quantity number, and a qualitative assessment of the impact generated by a company. We can say that a Turkish company is has a profit of $1 billion, but their impact P&L shows a deficit, a negative number of $500 million, something like that. So this is an ongoing project. We are very excited about this project, but we don't have, let's say, much to share at this time because they are working on this. In terms of return, the return. I haven't showed the figure, but basically here here in Brazil and also globally, that in the organization, the Global Impact Investment Network, in their annual report, they show also the return expectations. And both globally and here, about 2/3 of the investors, the impact investors, are seeking for market returns, but risk market adjusted returns, or close to that. And let's say 1/3 looking for more concessionary capital. But more and more in Brazil and worldwide, we have seen the emergence of the theme of blended finance and catalytic capital, which is very vital and brings me to the first question. It's vital for some companies. Some companies, they need some early stage company impact. Early stage, not impact business, early stage companies, at some point, they should also rely some grant money or concessionary money. That's why blended structures are becoming very fashionable here in Brazil and worldwide. So basically, the question was about the average term of an impact entrepreneur. So far, we have seen as impact business in Brazil, the majority of them, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, 2/3 of the companies in Brazil, they are in terms of cycle of the business, from the idea to the MVP stage. So they are early stages. So bulk of the companies are still at the early stage phase of their lives, and they need different types of capital to finance their journey. That's why it's so important this catalytic money to be deployed. And the question, the challenge is, who is the natural provider of this type of capital? And the names, the usual suspects, are exactly the names like I've just mentioned. Multilaterals, foundations, and some some family offices that also they have less focus on return. So these are the three types of money that should be the providers of capital for blended structure of capital, which is very much needed for impacting business here and I guess everywhere.
Okay, thank you, Beto. And thank you for a great presentation. I think we'll now move on to Alina and Ahmet to talk about their experience in Turkey. Alina, are you ready? Okay.
Thank you so much. This was a great presentation, and it's going to be a bit challenging to segue and be able to deliver at such great level. But before we dive into our content, let me just explain a bit how we are going to approach this presentation slot. I will walk you through the activities that we have under our World Bank project and deliver a very brief snapshot of the ecosystem in Turkey. And we will complement it with the experience on the ground from one of the social cooperatives that have been implemented under our project. And it's going to be very interesting because what is the end aim after our project ends is to be able to deliver a model that is replicable, can be scaled up, and we really contribute to maximizing the potential of social entrepreneurship in Turkey. So I will do my best to be very quick. Sorry, view full screen. The entry point in which we are working on social entrepreneurship in Turkey comes under a project that is funded under the Facility for Refugees in Turkey. It's a European Union funded project. The European Commission through the EU delegation in Turkey is working jointly with us to improve opportunities for Syrian under temporary protection and host community alike in selected localities. Some of these things are very important, and I'm going to dive in a bit later on. What is the aim of the project? The project itself has three components, and the overall aim is to contribute to support the government capacity to assess the demand for occupation and skills, to create jobs through social entrepreneurship, and to assess labor market programs. What we are going to cover today falls under the second component, the one that looks at how jobs can be created through social and to social entrepreneurship and social enterprises. And there are two main pillars here. The first one focuses on the 4 social cooperatives that have been established under the project. And the second pillar focuses on the creation of a community of practice around social entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship ecosystem in order to really maximize the potential in Turkey. As you know, the scale in which World Bank operates is much higher, but this is a project on the demand side through which at the end, the social cooperatives would have created over 125 jobs and employment opportunities for Syrian under temporary protection women and also Turkish women. So all 4 are women-led social cooperatives. Anka is a cooperative operating in Ankara in the handicraft sector. Halka is in Izmir in the cleaning sector, and Kume project with the ANE cooperative, from which you are going to hear today from the implementing representative, Mr. Ahmet Batat, and Ekip, they're operating in the food sector. So briefly, this is the snapshot. Now, social entrepreneurship in Turkey is not a new concept. So since the 10th century and evolving through time to be captured under Islamic law, there have been various forms of associations, starting especially with mutual financial aid. But it's only in the 21st century that actually it has been captured in literature, and there is administrative support, and recognition for research. So in a way, it is new ground, and this allows for multiple opportunities. One of the key challenges that exists is really the lack of data, and depending on which definition is being used, if we benchmark to the EU definition, we are speaking about 2,000 social cooperatives along the line of entities that are contributing to the social economy. If we look at cooperatives, their number is over 50,000 and so on. But mainly there are 4 forms accepted that operate as social enterprises. The forms that are identified are more traditional in the sense of provision of services and products being aimed at disadvantaged and vulnerable groups, and with the idea of fundraising. The lens through which we look at the social cooperatives and the entrepreneurship beyond the 4 recognized pillars with the legal framework, access to markets, finance, and the capacity support, the core support. Data collection and raising awareness are key in order to unlock the potential of the system. Now, some of the main challenges, this is a big subject and there is a lot to say, but just to highlight that there is no unique definition for this type of entities in Turkey. There isn't a national strategy, and there isn't a government body dedicated as it exists in other EU countries, for example. The administrative mapping itself is a bit challenging in the sense that associations fall under the Ministry of Interior, foundations under Culture and Tourism, and so on. But perhaps the main challenge is the fact that there isn't a very clear line of financial support and measures that are tailored to this type of entities. Now, in spite of the fragmentations and the challenges, there are a lot of initiatives at a smaller scale, and this is one of the reasons why we keep repeating we have to unlock the potential and maximize the potential that exists in Turkey. Is even if there are a lot of fragmented initiatives that are contributing to developing the system, there still has to be a collective impact, and initiatives need to scale up. There is the small and medium agency, the Agency for SMEs, COSGAB in Turkey, that provides a series of entrepreneurship support and technical assistance to this type of entities. Funding has come lately, starting from the EU pre-accession and the framework of the facility for refugees in Turkey. There are international organizations as well, which have very good examples of projects. And in the last years, I think, especially in the last 5 years, there is a body of research that is starting slowly to consolidate and accumulate. So these are all very good, notable initiatives, but we need to take it to one higher level. And now, on top of the challenges of the system, we have the layer with the refugee context. Just to give you some numbers, there are at the moment officially registered in Turkey around 3.6 million. Unofficially, the data might be much higher, and two key challenges associated to this exist. On one side, the labor participation of women is very low. On the other side, the informal economy has benefited from a lot of the refugees on the labor market. So trying to balance somehow and to address this type of challenges is the entry point of our activity on job creation through social cooperatives. Operationally, the cooperatives are being implemented by outside service providers, external service providers under the bank supervision. And the structure is somewhat traditional in the sense that they have to develop the business plan, activity plan, carry out the outreach to Syrian under temporary protection and host community as well, eligibility criteria, plans, and a series of associated measures to support the women who are part of the social cooperatives, in view of obtaining legal certification for the entity. Once the governance and the legal structure is completed, the next stage follows, and that is the consolidation and sustainability. Throughout all these three stages, social cohesion is very important, and it is embedded in everything from developing the training curricula to communication of activities. And now a small snapshot of the work that the social cooperatives are doing. These are projects implemented between 24 months and some will reach over 30 months. They have different group of target beneficiaries. And the implementation is done in a consortia. There is a leading entity. We have Impact Hub is implementing in Izmir, in Ankara, the Chamber of Commerce. In Istanbul, there were two small entities, Karma and Jana, that implemented the KIP. And in Mersin, the implementer is IDEMA. Some of these names are familiar to you because they do have experience elsewhere in implementing social cooperatives. So it's a lot of transfer knowledge that actually happens through this type of initiatives. And one important point is the fact that the cooperation with municipalities in the 4 localities has been one of the key factors of success. Beyond the group of stakeholders and the partners, all have universities in the consortia. Having a consistent and constant engagement of the municipality has contributed massively to the pilots. And now the second pillar, and why we are excited to be here today and learn from our Brazilian colleagues. The social community of practice was established first on one side to really contribute to the knowledge body in Turkey and contribute to shaping the ecosystem. But on the other hand, it provides the support for the 4 pilots in order to ensure sustainability and continuity, and as well as collect all as much evidence as possible in order to really inform government policies and the ability to scale up and replicate this type of initiatives. I'm going to just to explain what the end result of our activity is going to be: a report on women-led social cooperatives, and also capturing all the activity throughout CoP. And the first part on why social enterprises are important for the government, let's keep it for discussion. And I'm happy to introduce Mr. Ahmed Batat, the implementer of social cooperative ANEC under the KUME project. Ahmed Bey, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alina, for your introduction. I would like to continue in Turkish, if you don't mind. I try to share my screen at first. Okay. Şu anda görünüyor mu?
Can you see my screen now? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ahmet Patat. I would like to thank you very much for your invitation and for all your kind words. And today I will be, we've already discussed the general structure of the social entrepreneurship in Turkey, but I would like to specifically talk about the Production Center for Women in Mersin, the Küme project, and how I would like to briefly run through how we started the Küme project. So we've been carrying out an initiative for the refugees and for the Turkish Republic citizens. There was a program that we've been carrying out with the support of the United States. In terms of the food sector, in that not every individual had the capability and the experience to carry out an entrepreneurship program and carry out a functioning enterprise, but they cooked perfectly well. So we were consulting with each other, trying to find out whether or not we can bring them together within the framework of a cooperative. And then we learned about the program of the World Bank in order to have this project run in Mersin, and we applied for it. And for over a year now, we've started working in Mersin within the framework of the Women's Cooperative. So in our target, we had 27 partners where the Turkish Republic citizens and the Syrian refugees under temporary protection being brought together and establish a cooperative. So we've carried out, before the COVID period, we've carried out in our training center, we've carried out capacity building in Arabic, Turkish, and English, so that it would be in their mother language for those 27 members. And we've carried in order to find out those 27 members, we've provided a wider group with training in order to find out who would be fitting best to be the members of the cooperative. And we've started selling the cooperative production so that they will be able to adopt to the production system as fast as possible while we were running through the legal procedures. And COVID started developing quite fast, and we were not prepared. And in the risk analysis, we've never foreseen anything like COVID, but we got adapted ourselves to online structures, and the training programs we started to carry out them in the online platforms. Sometimes we're opening up in Turkey, sometimes we're having closures in Turkey. So when we opened up in February in a very fast manner, we have established our Ahenk cooperative. If you are to ask us, what is Ahenk cooperative? Right at the moment, we do have 27 members. Half of them being Turkish citizens, half of them being Syrians under temporary protection. And as IDEM at the foundation phase and at the development phase, we're providing technical support. And we have obtained an innovative method. Fair trade production is our main target. We're the first cooperative, and we are the first multi-stakeholder cooperative. We have different cooperatives that we were involved in, and we had the opportunity to review different examples from the globe. But in Mersin, this cooperative, in order to improve the livelihood of the women in the food sector with fair trade practices being implemented and expanded, new products to be developed with a multi-stakeholder structure was developed. So this is how we established our preliminary functions while establishing the foundation. Our main purpose was to improve the fair trade initiatives with the pioneering women, and the fair trade verification processes were important, and we wanted them to be involved in that. So we're planning to get new models being implemented. One of the most important work that we're carrying out is the feasibility studies that we are carrying out. As we have seen with the other cooperative models, one of the main problems that we encounter is that the women's cooperatives, whether or not they can produce and market added value products, and the problems that they encounter. So even though we work as consultants in terms of project management and development management, we just wanted to get in contact with the experts and try to be innovative. And we analyzed the market, and we see that the sauce and the spices are growing fast, and they will further grow in the future. And Mersin is realizing 70% of the banana production in Turkey, and the banana becomes to be a major agricultural product. For that reason, we've tried to focus on a search how we can come up with an added value product from banana. So for people who would be interested in carrying out a vegan diet, people are more interested in cooking at home, and they are more interested in quality food. For that reason, we dried the banana, and we've tried to make best use of it. I would like to share this with you so you can see the cycle of banana production. So Ahenk Cooperative is in Mersin, and they're making use of this, and they're making use of this locally produced banana. We're drying them waffle, pancake, and the shake mixes, and we are producing. We're making production out of its peeled parts as well. So B2B and B2C type of product being sent from one party to another. So this is very important because in Turkey, every geography has their own local commodity. Beto made a presentation, and it drew my attention. The fragile groups via social entrepreneurship, they are being strengthened. So in our country, especially after the Syrian crisis, there's an increased number of the refugee population, but the vulnerable groups, the fragile groups, we have different Afghans and other refugees coming from different countries. They're all living together, so that at the local level, with the local people, if they can produce together, with the local values that they can generate added value and market them, that would be a very good model. This was tested for the first time in Mersin with the financial support of the European Union within the framework of the World Bank project. We managed to realize this and would like to see this being replicated in the other provinces as well. So as one last point, we need to be wrapping this up fast. So what I would like to mention about all of this work, I just want to underline a few of them. Let me go through them. First of all, in carrying out such kind of work, as the management group, being in the job and being with the women is very important. You can't just do it in an intermittent manner, coming in and going out. You need to be there. You need to be there in the production for them. And for the training and in capacity building efforts, you need to be reaching out to the widest community as possible to understand their needs, providing childcare services and other services that they would need in order to participate in all of these activities. And there's another point. In all the work that you will be carrying out, you need to be working with the right partners, and you need to be moving in with the right partners. And we had 4 critical partners throughout this process that supported us. One of them had been Dilara Koçak. Dilara Koçak, she is the she is a dietitian, and also she is the goodwill ambassador of UNDP. The waffle mix and the milkshake mixtures, she came up with different recipes, and she provided support for us. Another important partner that we had is Eren Kurt in the food entrepreneurship. He has a serial entrepreneurship initiatives. He has more than 100 enterprises and more than 10 brands and functioning in various countries. For that reason, in the innovation process and the banana products being produced, he's being in support of us. And he is kind of the first client of the first products that we're coming up with. And one of the partners of our company is Mert Fırat. Mert Fırat, he is also the UNDP Goodwill Ambassador, and Professor Utter, a member of Ashoka. And in the marketing and in the promotion, they're providing utmost support for all of us as an academician, as an entrepreneur. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to respond to them.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. That was very interesting. And I don't know about others, but it's making me very hungry to have a craving for bananas and pizza. And I think it's very interesting to see this is a slightly different approach where you're kind of focusing on cooperatives to actually kind of grow the social enterprise, because I think it's a little bit more targeted to it. So Smita has a question which I will add on, and then perhaps you can answer to it. And then actually I want to also bring in Opal White, who's from Jamaica. She ran the Social Enterprise Business Incubator. I got the acronym all wrong, but she's also one of the enablers of trying to create the social enterprise system in Jamaica. And I think I would just wanted to get her reflections on what happened in Brazil and Turkey and see how that also relates to what they were doing in Jamaica. But for you, Ahmed and Alina, I think the question is, how do cooperatives function within a social enterprise ecosystem? How do you differentiate cooperatives from social enterprise? How do you balance profit and impact? And I think I want to add to that and kind of say, so with the cooperatives, is it more also, I mean, I also see social enterprise as an ownership aspect too, right? So with an ownership, you can have more, it's more of an entrepreneurial guidance, whereas with the cooperatives, it seems that might be a little bit more like technical assistance providing the guidance, or maybe I'm wrong on that. So is it more hands-on to be actually working with cooperatives, but the impact is larger, which is why you choose the cooperatives? Or is it more, could this have been started up from scratch from like a social enterprise? But Ali will leave it at that. So Ahmed or Alina, whichever one wants to answer, go ahead.
Let me just give the umbrella, and then Ahmed Bey will explain how the procedure to get certified actually plays out, because this is important. So the entry point here is the pursuit of a social role. Now, when this is prioritized over the profitability of the organization, in the certification process, they decide which form they're going to take later on. That's why the complexities and the fragmentation actually occurs. When you have a very set legislation like it exists in the EU countries or so on, the whole process is straightforward, right? And you know the parameters under which these organizations function. But because of the fragmentation and different responsibilities, different mapping and portfolio of organizations, the process tends to be a bit complicated. Started even, just to give you an example, with work permits, because all these social cooperatives, they're aimed at the majority of Syrian population, Syrian refugees under temporary protection. However, the Syrian under temporary protections cannot be members in the board of the cooperatives or establish themselves a social cooperative. So there are a lot of issues to which attention is given, and I think it's very encouraging that the government is giving attention, and there is a good movement and a positive movement to really address some of these challenges. Ahmed Bey, let me pass on to you so you can explain how you collected the approvals for the establishment of the social cooperative, as I think it would be more helpful.
Thank you, Alina. Şöyle cevaplamak isterim izninizle. Yani bu konuyu.
Thank you very much, Elena. You touched a very good point. Turkish public has kind of a negative perception. It's a pity, but there's a negative perception of the Turkish public for the Syrians under temporary protection.
Kurdukları bir işletme modeli olduğu için kamuoyu nezdinde çok daha kabul edilebilir.
So because this is a cooperative, and for that reason it is more acceptable for the public eye. And as the second point, as Alina has also mentioned in terms of social entrepreneurship, Turkey has a very fragmented structure. There are different models, which I believe is a very correct pattern, because for example, I am one of the managers and a board member of another cooperative. For example, IDEMA is a company that provides consulting services, but Ahenk is a cooperative, and cooperative has the purpose of creating social benefit. So our target defines our means. So organizational structure are just means for us to reach our target. Depending on your target, you need to be choosing your means. Different means may have different pros and different cons. But for the cooperatives, do provide equal right for everyone. You don't have a say depending on how much capital you can invest. Everyone is equal. All the members are equal. Because of the basic membership procedures, social impact and social benefit to be generated, the most effective model is cooperatives for Turkey at the moment. So this is how I can summarize the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Okay, I'll now turn to Opal. Opal, if you could give a quick introduction on SEBI and discuss what kind of what the parallels you see between Jamaica, Turkey, and Brazil is. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. And it is morning in Jamaica. I know we have different times of day depending on where you are. So hello, I'm very happy to respond, to share. I note also one of my colleagues, Anna Toby, also on this call, on this webinar. So I definitely see some similarities between Jamaica's ecosystem and Turkey, because in terms of the main drivers, I'm seeing where foundations have played a critical role and multilaterals. And as a matter of fact, it was a corporate foundation and a multilateral that actually introduced social enterprise to Jamaica in an organized and a structured way through a project called Social Enterprise Boost Initiative, of which I was a project manager. So multilaterals really played a key role. Definitely government came on board and have continued to lead the social enterprise sector. So definitely that is similar to what is happening in Turkey. Unlike in Brazil, I should say, but unlike Brazil, Jamaica does not yet have strong impact funds. And that is more attributable to the scale of social enterprise and also the demand that is there. So I think that scaling up of innovation, scaling up of social enterprise will help to drive the creation of more impact funds in Jamaica. But it is important to note that our local stock market has gotten involved in the social enterprise space. They actually created a local social stock exchange that is now operating more like crowdfunding to provide financing for social enterprise. I have seen a similarity, I believe it's Turkey, I should say, between Jamaica and Turkey in terms of what are the priority areas that social enterprises are covering. I noted that Turkey is focusing a lot on supporting Syrians, settling Syrians, and like Jamaica, the problems that we have will be local. And in Jamaica, a lot of social enterprises are anchored around creating livelihoods, economic opportunities, more for vulnerable groups, persons living with disabilities, rural folks. So we see much of innovation is addressing core local challenges. So that is what social enterprise is anchored around. Our key priorities moving forward is related to having social entrepreneurs themselves play a more leadership role in driving the sector. We speak about intermediaries. It's really about having the social enterprises themselves driving the sector instead of government or other organizations driving the sector as is happening now. Another priority is creating a legal status for social enterprises, because right now there is some amount of confusion is how social enterprises are registered. And so the government, along with a multilateral British Council, is actually supporting the creation of a legal status for social enterprises. Anna and I, my colleague Anna and I, are working around building out a strategy to increase awareness of social enterprise, where social enterprise is more popular in the city area of Jamaica, but in the rural areas, social enterprise is relatively unknown. So it's really how do you spread involvement and impact across the island. Certainly creating an independent permanent lobbying group or association for social enterprise, similar to what alliances or whatever it is, that is going to be critical to move Jamaica forward. And recovery from COVID-19, rebuilding the momentum in the sector after COVID-19 is also critical. Social enterprise was buzzing, there was strong momentum, supported by projects, supported by government, supported by multilaterals. That was happening in the sector. The social enterprises, like any other businesses, they have really undertaken a major hit. So sector recovery is going to be a key priority if the sector is to remain structured, is to remain organized. But definitely we are on similar trajectory. In many instances, you may be a bit further. We may have different priorities based on our local challenges, but I believe the underlying principle of social enterprise, building community, driving innovation, creating impact, Jamaica has those as key priorities.
Thank you very much, Opal. We're closing in on our time, and I just wanted to thank all our speakers for contributing for some great presentations, and thank you, Opal, for your insights. Opal underplays her role in actually changing the whole dynamic of the social enterprise ecosystem in Jamaica, but she's done a fantastic job there too. I think some of the key takeaways I've gotten from the overall presentations is like we need to build up on the knowledge, and knowledge is quite key to be able to convince government and create awareness of the sector. That's one of the fundamental things. But then it's a matter of building up partnerships with either foundations or banks, particularly banks, so that we get the financing aspect to the social enterprises. And then there's also the intermediaries too. What is it that we can do to support them, to help build them up, to connect them? And it seems like the more we're able to connect ecosystem players together, the more effective it is in being able to kind of build this whole ecosystem network. Because I think unlike the private sector, the social enterprises don't really compete against each other. It's more of a supportive network. So the more we can build out this kind of network and take on different activities that kind of weave this web a little bit tighter, the more conducive it is for helping to scale up social enterprises, to scale up the sector. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for their participation. And we will send out the recording and also the references and the links. And we're looking forward to your report, Beto, because I want to digest that very carefully and so that we are able to extract the lessons for other countries as well. So thank you very much and have a good weekend.
Teşekkür.
Thank you.
Likewise,
Bye.
thank you so much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, Lina.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.